Well, hello today and welcome to this training session with Natasha Denman. My name is Robert Curry and it's great to see you here. So before I get started, I always like to start with a sound check. And if you could go onto your chat panel, type in your name and the city that you're from. And you know what? If you want a bit of a plug for yourself, you can even type in the URL of your business. So just your name and the city you're from and the URL. So we've got Kim from Brisbane. We've got Kate from Adelaide. Got Grace saying that she's missed hearing Natasha's voice. So that's great that Natasha's back on the line all the way from Greece.
Yay.
Pauline, looking forward to the webinar. Vanessa from Melbourne. Catherine from Brisbane. acacialaw.com. That sounds like a good site. Kim, stratcom.com.au. We've got Jess from Kiama. We've got Dan from Lead Machine. Hey Dan, how are you? We've got Mareki from Maroochydore. That's great to see you. Grace from Melbourne, Samantha from Melbourne, Rebecca from RCB Mediation Services in Melbourne. Pauline, busy mum. I can't even read that, it's so long, but we'll read out for you later, Pauline. Warren from Melbourne, Con from Melbourne, Joe from Melbourne, howyouSayIt.com.au. Jim from Phoenix, Arizona. It's good to see some internationals. Julie from Melbourne, Jenny from New Zealand. Okay, we've got a lot of people on the line, so I won't be able to get through everybody. But hello, and thank you so much for coming. So I'm going to introduce Natasha now, then we'll get right into the content. I know that we're all super busy and we like to get to the good stuff. So Natasha is an entrepreneur, mentor, speaker, and a best-selling author. She's written and published 5 books, including The Ultimate 48-Hour Author and Natasha Denman Reveals 1,000 Days to $1 Million Coaching Business from Home. She's a wildly successful business owner, having created a $1 million business on the back of a 48-hour author program that she runs with her husband, Stuart. Natasha's been nominated in a host of awards over the last 24 months, including being a finalist in the Oz Mumpreneur 2014 for product information. She's built an amazingly responsive global online community of serious business owners, including her Ultimate Business Support Facebook group that is pushing 10,000 members who look to her for advice and inspiration. 10,000 is a lot of members. She's done well to do that. Natasha is always at her action-taking best, and that's seen her flop dozens of live events, including webinars, trainings, workshops, and retreats. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight. She's been featured extensively in the media and in publications such as The Age, BRW, news.com.au, and a host of national radio programs. Seems like every time I'm talking to Natasha, she's always on another program or being featured in another column, so she's done very, very well with her media appearances. And look, it hasn't been all roses for Natasha. In her first year, the first 12 months when she started her first business, she worked 80-hour weeks and made $7,000. And then in the second year, she only made $37,000. But she's proud to say now that she's doing a lot better than that, and it's over 7 figures, which is quite exciting. So you can see that even people who have achieved a lot of success like Natasha have had some tough experiences. Like $7,000 in your first year is not a very happy year, I can tell you now. But what's important is that no matter what challenges come your way, to work through them and to keep growing and taking actions where it's all at. So Natasha's going to show you how she's become the go-to person within her community to get these bums on seats, and the blueprint that she uses to successfully monetize her and her clients' events. Without any further delay, a big warm welcome to Natasha Denman.
Hey Rob, that was quite an introduction. Wow, you hear it back yourself and you go, wow, I have done a lot of things over the last 5 years. Thanks so much. And wow, there's just more and more people coming on, and we're about to click through the top. There's basically not going to be any room on this webinar. And thanks everyone for being so interactive and saying that you miss me, because I miss you too. And from Greece here, when we say hello, we apparently say Yasus for any of our Greek people that may be on this webinar. So thank you, Rob, and I know we'll hear back from you later on. And it's exciting, some of the things that you and I have coming up, and that we're adding value to both of our communities through some of these calls that we've been hosting now monthly. So I can't wait to share with you guys. As you have questions throughout the call today, just make sure that you are typing them up in the question box. We also have my husband Stuart logged in from another computer, so if there's anything that techie wise you're not good with, he'll respond back to you. But I'm very, very excited to share some of the gold here. I never thought that I would be speaking on this topic had you asked me about obviously 4 years ago, when I started 4.5 years ago running my first event. And I couldn't be further from uh, knowing what was it that I needed to do to get these bums on seats. But some of the information Rob shared, yes, those are my achievements. But more specifically, I want to share with you, I guess, the enormity of where this has come about in the last 5 years. And I've done a bit of a count as to how many webinars I've been on, and public events, and other people's events. And as you can see, 200 webinars in the last 5 years I've hosted for myself and for other people as a guest or as a facilitator. 60 live public events, which are really, I guess, the biggest challenge, and we'll talk about that over this call, as well as spoken at 100 other events. And I usually set a bit of a goal here. I tell myself, how many events do I want to speak at each quarter? And I see if I can get that many gigs or even host some myself to make up that number. So, as we said, I have converted 7 figures collectively in sales from these events. So the result of people attending them has resulted in that 7-figure income. And when we talk about that 7-figure, I'm talking over a 12-month period, not over the 5 years. And definitely have mentored so many people. And we've talked about the Facebook community. And by all means, if you're not part of Ultimate Business Support, jump on and get in on the fun. We have a lot of new things happening upon our return from Greece. By the way, the weather here is 32 and not a cloud in the sky, and my family's waiting for a swim for me after this. So I can't wait to share what I've got. And I've missed my business very, very much. I'm so ready to really have a wonderful finish to 2015. All right, so I want to get some interaction from you, and just to make sure that you can hear me all the way from here. Why is it that you want to run online or offline events? So some of you shared what business you were in and where you were from and all of that sort of stuff. Now I want to know, for what purpose do you want to run your event? So type in your responses in the question box, because I can see that as well at my end. Kim said, make dollars, build profile, use intellectual property. I love that, Kim, and you've kind of really the trifecta, isn't it? You absolutely have the intellectual property as you run your events. And by all means, if you're not doing it or you're not planning to do it, do film, record, and then use the footage from your events as products that you can sell further down the track. Because one thing that I have always done since day one, even when they were so crappy, is I recorded my events, and now I just pick and choose these webinars, these workshops, this footage, and I put it all together. I come up with a sexy name, which is hypnotic and gives people what they want, and make passive income from it. So it's very, very easy. Pauline says, credibility and to be seen as the expert. Yes, positioning. I mean, when you run an event, and you know what, running events, by no means is it easy. There is a strategy and a system behind it all. However, it's not easy to master and to get that sweet spot with your people, which is what Robert's an expert is finding that starving crowd and the sweet spot that's going to get people in the rooms. And then once you have that, some of the other systems that go behind it as to where you find those people to get them in the rooms, that's what I'm an expert in. Then that's the match made in heaven, which means that you will skyrocket your business and definitely move beyond selling your time for money. Kate Burr, yes, just what I said, leveraging my time, she said. And so did Anna, which is what I've just been mentioning, because one-on-one can only get you really to 6 figures and a little bit more. But realistically, to get to a point where you're building a significant business beyond you is through events. Jolene says for profile building and also to share content. Con says because I have so much knowledge and expertise to share. Excellent. And making it really simple is really, really the trick to all of this. The simpler you can make something, the easier people will understand it. Because one of my favorite sayings, and some of my community may have heard me say it over and over to them, but a confused mind will always say no. So get and keep it simple, and people are more likely to say yes to your offers. Trish says to change the world in a positive way. Thomas says, I second Kim. Reach larger audiences from Arpen. Great to see you on the call as well. Catherine says, raise my business profile, increase earnings. Jenny from New Zealand, to reach a wider audience and build another income stream. Expertise from Ruth. I love how many people have responded to this. To upsell coaching programs from Glenda, to create products using the recording. Yes, we talked about that, and educate people about my services and funnel them. Grace says, love offline, but want to leverage my time with online events to add value to clients anywhere whilst I raise my second bub, which is due in 5 weeks. Congrats, Grace. Yes, I haven't seen you since you were early pregnancy. Become an expert in my field and earn money. And Luciane says domestic violence issues and empower women to rebuild life kids program and avoid future situations. Awesome. I have so much more. Oh my goodness. I cannot read through any more of the comments. Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to move on to the next bit. I'm going to actually look at all of your comments on the report after, because there's so many there. I want to get into the really juicy stuff, as we say, so I can give you some actionable steps after you leave this call today, because we've got a bit of work to get on. So let me tell you how this is going to roll for the rest of the time. I'm going to probably speak to you for about half an hour to more to deliver the 3 different key points that I promised on this webinar. And then what we'll do is Rob will open up question time at 1:45, and stick around for as long as it takes to answer all of your questions. And I know there's going to be lots of questions in light of how many comments have come through from everyone. But why do I run events? Well, I guess I've asked you why you want to run events, but seriously, it's all of the above. And leadership, but also one thing, maybe I haven't read it in the other comments, it's very much about relationship building. I have this other saying that the relationships that I build today, or the people that I have in my events today, may not result in sales, that day, but they will result in sales in 6 to 12 months' time. And if not, it's sometimes even longer, because people get to know me, like me, trust me. And that's a big aspect of why I actually turn up and go to all the different cities around Australia and host events and be in front of people, is because I want to know them personally. And that is how, and that has been a little bit of my little secret sauce, if you like, to being successful, because I'm a people person. I may not have the most awesome electronic automated systems in my business. I'm getting there though. I do have the people personality, where I really like to get to know people personally, and vice versa. And that's been one of my biggest whys. Why I run events, why I apply to speak at other people's events, and go and turn up and add value to, as we are today. But certainly on offline events are fantastic and are more powerful versus online. However, the strategies are very, very similar between the two. And a lot of people are curious how I run and film my retreats, and that's a whole other thing that we're going to talk about in the end. So obviously there is a secret and there is a system behind all of it. We may think, everyone out there is selling a system, or their blueprint or their formula and all that sort of stuff. But seriously, it is that. Because when you stop to think about what the hell do I do to have gotten to where I am today, and then you outline it, there's step 1, 2, 3, 4, however many steps you create, and you follow that over and over. For you, you might not be conscious, just might do it because you're talented at doing it, but at the end of the day, there is the blueprint behind it. And my blueprint looks like this. Now, I know you can't see this at your end. I can guarantee that you can't see it because I can't see it myself. But I didn't want to, I can send this separately in an email because then you can blow it up on your screen. And I'll send that through with the recording of this call, which we will do after the event. But this is something that I sat down and I go, what the hell do I do to fill my retreats and webinars and seminars? So just to give you a little bit of an idea, the top right hand is the webinars, the left one is the seminars, and the bottom right is the retreats. And then what are the certain things that I do? And we will talk about the three little prongs that come off each of those, which are my 3 Ps, which is all about prepare, promote, prepare, and profit. And what all that means, and certainly to go into even more detail. So the system goes further and further, as you can see on this mind map, because there is a lot of depth to what we do. What seems so easy on the outside is actually quite a blueprint and a step-by-step thing that if you miss some of the aspects of it, you may not have as much success. So don't worry about not seeing this. You will be able to see it when you get an email from me. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to start off, I guess, at the bigger chunk to give you an understanding of the 3 key things that I want to share with you, because there's no point in me starting you off in one of the littler pronged arms on this mind map without giving you the bigger overall picture of where you should start yourself. So what we will go through over the next half an hour is, number 1, the best lead magnet you must have to fill your events. Then how to magnetize your audience and have them say yes to you more often. And when it is, I guess, the difference when you should be sharing pain or selling pain versus pleasure and all that sort of stuff. And I'll give you a little bit of an insight around that and when to come up with that. And then I'll go into a little bit more of a depth around the 3 Ps for your event presentation success that is guaranteed to work and not have you waste precious time over creating events that may not result in profit for you at the end of the day. So I trust you're all good with that, and can't wait to hear what I've got to say next. All right, so if you have questions as we're moving along, do type them up. I will be going through this whole list and getting through them, and I promise those questions I will absolutely get through from start to finish. All right, so your best lead magnet. I don't have many words on my slides. I just talk through them because what I do comes so natural, and it's actually I speak from experience. I don't need too many notes, but take lots of notes at your end because sometimes you might also want to re-listen to it, because every time you re-listen to something, you hear something new. All right, so let's talk about this best lead magnet. So you can see my book there, Ultimate 48-Hour Author Book. And I know a lot of you have, and maybe I'm assuming, but a lot of people in our industry understand that we need to have something that will generate leads for us. So they call it a lead gen magnet. That's something people can opt in to get. And it doesn't have to be a full-on book. Of course, I'm the ultimate 48-hour author, and I'm always going to tell you that every single person who's in a service-based industry should have and must have their best business card in hand, which would be their book that has their intellectual property in it. However, you could choose to write a 15 to 20-page ebook that's going to deliver amazing value and use that as your lead magnet. So why am I telling you this? Because this is the reason I actually wrote this book. I didn't write this book to, for other people to read it, but it was my relationship opener and way to get people into my community and to start interacting with me, but also to get a lot of my system right there in their hands. So if they wanted to replicate what I do at my retreats, they could do this through this book. And what I started noticing before I wrote this book is that some of the other entrepreneurs out there were giving away their whole books through the Facebook ads. And I didn't do it for a little while. I had the book ready for about 9 months. And I thought, I originally wrote it because I saw other people doing it. I go, oh, that's a good idea. That would be great to give a whole book away. Is tons of value versus an ebook. So about 6 months ago, as I've been doing Facebook advertising, and some of you may have noticed the Ultimate 48-Hour Author ones, which give away this book. So by all means, if you don't have it, get a copy yourself. But I give away this book for free in ebook version. Does that cost me anything? No. Is my message and me in the hands of my ideal target market? Yes, absolutely, because I target those ads to people that I want to see it. And vice versa, what I have set up is a two-step sequence. So number one, they opt in and they get the 160-page book. Secondly, once they have opted into that book, for that book, they get invited to my upcoming event, whether it's Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, whatever it is. Now, what happens is I have like a $20 a day budget on Facebook. And when when they opt in for the book, their name automatically ends up on my database. Now, not every single person is going to come to my half-day introductory event because it's not free. My half-day events I actually charge a low cost, $47, $57. And when people physically come to the event, they also get a copy of my book, which is a fantastic way to continue building that relationship.
Hey, Natasha.
Yeah.
Can you
Yep.
hear me?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
we're just having a little bit of trouble with your audio, getting a few messages saying that it's not coming through too well. So might just give it a few seconds to settle down a bit, then we'll try again. But in the meantime, guys, while waiting for Natasha's audio to kick back in, can you
Okay.
send through any questions that you've got so far? And we'll all wait in desperate suspense to hear the rest of this strategy because so far it's been awesome.
Yes.
So guys, if you've got
Second,
any questions, put them through now. We'll get to them at the end, and we'll just give Natasha's audio a couple minutes to get back into gear.
can
Won't be long. Natasha, do you want to try talking
yeah.
again?
Yes, I'm speaking now. Can you guys hear me? Natasha, we got up to my half day events a low cost. Okay, thanks. Yes, good. Okay, thanks. So Trish has kindly said where you guys got up to. Rob, you can hear me as well?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
coming through
good.
a lot clearer now. So why
Okay.
don't you why don't you kick off what happens on your thank you page
Okay,
after they
cool.
download the book?
So yes, so once my thank you page, they've gotten their books. They get invited to a half day event, which is low cost, as Trish has reminded me where I cut off. And basically, not every single person will sign up to a paid event because they still don't know me or trust me or like me, because I'm probably someone that they don't know from a bar of soap. And however, what happens is that those people end up in my database. And as a result, in 1 month only, when I started doing this, I ended up building my list by 1,000 people, you guys. That's a lot of people because it took me to get to 1,000 people when I started my business. It took me, I think, 2.5 years to get to. So, secondly, while I've been here in Greece, I have started my ads again because I'm running another couple of events in July, Sydney and Melbourne. And what's happening is, yet again, in just 15 days, I've been able to build my list by another 400 people. Now, you're wondering how much money have I spent on advertising? Probably about $400. Now, that's only $1 per lead. If you know industry standards, about $5 per lead is a good result. So having an awesome lead magnet is a key to build your database because there's only so much of your live network that you can end up inviting time and time again to your events. You really have to start tapping into people who have never heard from you. So that's key thing to make sure that you have. And how do you find what is going to be a good lead magnet? You just need to test and measure, of course. Test and measure different headlines, and you can do that in various groups. So, for example, my Ultimate Business Support group has a hot deal day on Tuesdays, and you can test out all sorts of hot deals and see if there's any response to them. And this is where you could test out like a lead magnet for no cost. Now, some people put out, like I know Rob tested out his Feed a Starving Crowd book title on Facebook via his via Facebook ads, but other people can do it in free, totally free on actual pages. If you see people saying, putting their hand up, yes, I'd like a copy of this, yes, I'd like a copy of this, most likely that particular lead magnet will also do well in Facebook advertising. So there's different places where you can work out where your sweet spot lies. And as we've said, Rob's a really great person to teach you some of the stuff of how to find what that positioning and that message is. And of course, I've done so many things and put them out there that if you keep taking action, I know that you're bound to also find your sweet spot. So you must have something like this, and then get on to promoting it and having some kind of a sequence, because promoting an event where you're inviting people straight into a paid event is quite difficult, and it may not get you as many bums on seats. So it's important to build a database, because those ads that I have invested money in, that say people have not signed up into the half day event, what happens is now that we're rerunning the events yet again, say 4 or 5 months later, and we then send out an email to the database, now they've been now building a relationship with me for 4 or 5 months. So just because they didn't come straight away to the Melbourne event, say 3 months ago, that doesn't mean they won't come. So really that investment, the return on investment is a lot bigger than we see it up front when we're paying, say, for Facebook advertising. So in the initial days when I didn't have quite the budget to spend on creating pretty pages and advertising and all of that sort of stuff that you're able to do further down in your business, the best way that I filled events was by going out networking and meeting people face to face and telling them about what I had coming up. And then that way, by them meeting me and building that relationship with me, they would come to my events. And that got me rooms of about 10 people on average in the beginning. But as Rob mentioned earlier, I even had done an event in the past when I started out in front of one person. And it's, the mindset around all of this is so, so important, because if you have the mindset is I'll turn up no matter what, I'll set the date and do the best I can, and this is just great practice for when I have tons of people to speak to, then you have to start, everyone starts there in the beginning. All right, let's keep going. I'll just check in that, making sure, awesome. Okay, so I think everything is going well with my sound. Occasionally, I think this has a tendency to drop out for a second. All right, so let's talk about how to magnetize your audience and get them to say yes more often. Okay, so a lot of you may have heard, people will do more to avoid pain than to experience pleasure. And I have found a distinct difference behind, copywriting, and to make sure you go start off with the pain and then going to what people want as an outcome. And there's also a big thing that I've learned, that on your front end marketing, which is your lower end and lower cost events or even opt-in offers, that you put in more of a pain type of title. So the 3 mistakes you must avoid to X, Y, and Z. Something along those lines, whereas your back-end marketing should be more pleasure focused, so that people are buying into their dream lifestyle. And that's why I've put those little funky pictures there. But I believe you must get people to realize that, hey, I've got this is happening to me, and I would like to have this outcome instead. So that way they get drawn in, and with some fantastic copywriting, which there's plenty of places you can learn how to write copy. And another thing I'm going to say yet again, writing copy is not something that we're all experts in, but you just start doing it. When I started in my business, I just started writing, and I'm sure what I was putting out there was total crap. But I didn't know any better at the time, so it didn't matter. And one day my husband read some of the stuff I was writing, and he hadn't been part of the businesses yet, because he joined me about 2.5 years in. And he said, gee, you write some really cool stuff. Like, it's really, engaging and, what makes me want to take action. And I go, I don't know how I came about to do this. I guess I read a lot of copy that was being advertised to me, and vice versa. I have just started writing it, and part of writing it is just the repetition, the repetition, the repetition. Another little tip that I would say about copywriting is that I've heard. I haven't done it myself. Mine was just pure reading and then trying to write it for my own business and reverse engineering it. But someone said, written a book, I think it might have been Tony Robbins. He said that if you like certain person's copy, let's say Frank Kern, who's your biggest internet marketer out there, if you actually copy pasted his copy time and time again of the way he writes, it becomes part of your style. Of course, not copying and pasting it to put it out there for your own business, but in terms of like writing in your handwriting on a piece of paper and practicing it that way, and then going off and then writing it for your own business and for your own thing, what we call reverse engineering that copy, then it will become part of what you do. And when it comes to events, and Rob would agree with me because he shared that on last month's webinar, you do need to write quite a lot of copy, whether it is for the setup of the event, for an email sequence that needs to go out leading up to that event. I mean, I don't know if, how many of you guys have noticed that on the call, we sent out, I think about 3 emails, one that went out 10 days out, one that went out about 3 or 6 days. I don't know, Stuart sets them up, but they're sequenced to come out in order, but each and every single one of those emails says something different, which means there has to be different copy that is written for them. Similar thing prior to this webinar running today, you guys received some homework 48 hours beforehand and also a reminder 24 hours beforehand. Why is this? So let me give you a little bit of an insider blunder that I made recently. Since GoToWebinar changed a little bit of their system, they used to have reminders automatically go out from their system 3 days, 1 day, 1 hour before the event to the people who've registered. And I hadn't realized by going to this new look that they've got now, they didn't have that automatically set up, that the person had to set it up. And so I advertised a couple of webinars, and what happened? I did not send any reminders, yet I had more than 200 people register into each of those couple of webinars, and I had less than 10% people show up. So let's say 20 people turned up to each of them. I mean, that's a really disappointing result. Usually you're expected to have about 35 to 50% of people turn up live, which is the case of what we have today from our registration numbers. So that was a huge disappointment. I said, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? And that was it. It's the reminder process and the things that you've got to do in the lead up of the event to get the people to be there live with you needs to be really systemized and fine-tuned. So how do you magnetize them? Leverage the pain, show them the pleasure, but also have all of those background things that lead up to your event. Because if you're in a service-based business and you want to make events your core way of attaining your clients and leveraging your time, realistically, I believe 70 to 80% of your time will be spent on marketing, promoting, and setting up your events. The execution is really like the climax of it all. For the couple of events that we've been running the last couple of months, we've had to connect and plan and put a lot of behind the scenes talk and feedback and organization to make them possible and available, so you guys have the wonderful experience and you get a lot of gold from this. Because one thing is to really hype up an event and to really let people down in terms of the value that they get. So make sure that when people come to your events, that you also deliver what you have promised, and then ask for feedback at the end as well. I will go through also, how it all flows and everything. So that's why I want to get on to the last point of which is about the 3 Ps for a presentation success that is guaranteed to work. So a big mistake that I will share with you that a lot of people, myself, I made this a little bit in the beginning, but a lot of new clients that I get, this is where they get stuck. And this is what if anything you're going to take away from this webinar, I want you to take away this, is that don't prepare first, create first. Okay, never prepare. People are thinking, where am I going to go? What am I going to talk about? What am I going to, how am I going to get people there? All that sort of stuff. What I always say is create the sexy copy, like the first P, if you like, promote. Okay, promote out. What is it going to be? So come up with your sexy topic, come up with your date. So first thing actually is set the date. And if it's a webinar, generally you want to give yourself about 7 to 10 days lead up. If it's your very first event, if it's a half day or a full day, I would be giving yourself at least 6 weeks. Once you get a little bit more versed at it, you can give yourself 4 weeks lead up. But my sweet spot's somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks. And then if you're going to do something like a retreat, for example, when you're very new at it, absolutely 6 months and even plus, but definitely 4 to 6 months lead up for a high-end program like that. So first thing is set the date, because the date gives you something to work towards. You know what they say in goal setting, start with the end in mind. And then figure out whether what you're going to put out there is going to work. So again, use those channels of Facebook groups or even your database. Run a survey to your database to see if they would be interested in a particular topic with, just write a page of copy. Come up with some pain questions, pleasure questions, an outcome that they would get and what it's going to be, and maybe create a survey to see what the responses are. Figure out if it's going to get the traction, and then put it out there. Obviously, seek out what venue you're going to use. If it's obviously online, which of a program you're going to use, but if it's offline, figure out what your venue is going to be and start promoting it. And literally, that's what you're going to do for the first 70 to 80% of the time before your event runs, is to get those people there. Don't worry about PowerPoints. Don't worry about, what I need to take to the venue and all that, and rehearsing, and all of that can come into the later stages of your event. So number one is promote. So there's many different channels of promotion, and the key ones, as I said earlier on in my business, was from my current network, asking my current clients of anyone that they knew that would benefit from the event that I was running, from networking out and about, and posting free Facebook events up. So those are the first few free ways of how I started filling my events. Eventually, other things come into place, like partnerships, where you have the same target market with a fellow business owner, similar perhaps even databases, and you could do what we call a swap, where your stuff gets promoted to their people, and their stuff gets promoted to your people, so that then you're not in competition with each other at all. However, you hold your dream clients in each other's database. So that's something that works really well and can really skyrocket how many people come to your events. Partnerships is really, if you find a few high quality partners that have great networks and databases, then with a win-win situation, you can easily fill your events. And another thing you can do, as I said before, is start running Facebook ads. You don't have to spend $20 every day. You could create a lower budget, but you also need to be monitoring that. So myself personally, I tried doing Facebook ads by myself with no success at all. So my suggestion is, don't waste your time if you don't know how to do them properly. hire an expert that might get you started on them, and then you may be able to take over, or have someone completely manage them on your behalf, which we're doing at the moment. So it just depends where at in your business you are to get that happening. So I've given you some free strategies, and I've given you some paid strategies on how to go about that. So I trust that that has been helpful. Okay, so I think my sound's still okay. I think there's been a couple of things here with sound, but hopefully I did come back up. Okay. Also, if you did miss some bits, I'm thinking that the recording will be perfect because I'm recording it at my end. So by all means, please re-listen if you haven't heard some of the stuff that I have said. All right, so let's go on to the second P, and that is prepare. Okay, of course, now you can prepare. Now that you've done 70 to 80% of the work, and you've promoted it out there, you've got some people signed up, and the minute the first person signs up for anything that I do, I go, that's it, this event is happening. And one thing I wanted to mention around the promotion stage is that don't get discouraged if you do get small numbers in the beginning, because actually there is power in small numbers. I have done a few events where I've had, say, between 5 to 10 people, and you know what's happened? A lot more greater rapport has been built between myself and the attendees, and a lot higher conversion rate in what I have had to offer at the end to them. Sometimes, you get some of the rooms with a lot of people, and then you get a smaller conversion rate. So comparison of, say, 15 to 20% to up to 50 to 100%. One time I had 7 people in a room, and I converted 100% of that room. So never, never, never be discouraged if you have smaller numbers. Turn up and show up and just say, wow, what value are these few people going to get from me? Because you'll be able to work on their specific situation. You'll be able to help them with all of their questions rather than being in a room of 100 or more people. So preparation, certainly this is where all your PowerPoint, your practice of delivering your talk, very big thing to really think about is, okay, so now I'm preparing, I'm going to deliver this amazing value, but what is my next step? So for what purpose? What is my outcome as a result of doing this event? So if you're running a webinar, is it to invite them to a discovery session, a strategy session? Is it for them to go into like an online program, some type of a membership? If you're doing a full day event, like I do my introductory author event, certainly the intention is to build the relationships and build my profile and all that sort of stuff. Ultimately, it is the people, the offer and the opportunity is to join one of our retreats. Now that they've learned what it's all about, they can see how the process is. Would they like to do a retreat or go off and do it on their own? There's one of two options, really. So one thing leads to the other, and you really need to be clear on it. Please don't confuse people with 1,000,001 offers at the back. Now I'm being a little bit exaggerating. Do give people the opportunity to make one or two decisions at the most. Like you may have option A and option B. At the most, you'd ever use, say, that the power of 3 or the mind loves threes. But ultimately, actually, just one thing, hey, I've got this thing coming up and would you like to do it, is the best thing, because keep it simple. And as we said, a confused mind will always say no, and they'll need to go off and think. So keep it simple and have that outcome in mind, which really ties in nicely with that last point, is the profit point. Is, well, how am I going to profit from this? If I'm going to run the events, what's going to be that next step, and how is that going to be leveraging my time, and what do I have to offer? So think about packaging yourself. How can you package what you do with people? Perhaps if you're working with them one-on-one, how can it become a program? How can it become a system or something that will assist them in getting from their A to B the fastest way possible? And how perhaps one other thing I would like to really point out here is how can they have an experience with you? Because the value of what you sell a lot of the time lies in the experience. If people have an amazing time, if they feel looked after, if they're having a wonderful time interacting with others, like other like-minded people, then they walk away going, "I'm so glad I did that. That was worth way more than the asking price." And I just love I love being around this particular person. So think about, yes, the program and the system, but also the second thing is the experience. Because guess what? If they have an amazing experience, what's going to happen is that they're going to refer other people to that experience, and they say, "Oh my God, I went to this thing." I often say hear my authors say as the others, the new authors say, our next retreat in August is coming up, and the other ones are saying, "Oh my God, you guys, they know what's going to happen." So the ones that have already been in our secret group, they always tell the others, "Oh, you're going to have such an amazing time, life changing, blah blah blah." All that kind of stuff starts coming up. So that's the stuff that really sells your program, then word of mouth to other people. And often I've seen on some of my ads, people comment, "Oh yeah, I've been watching this and I've been looking and I've heard about it." So that's the point that you want to get your business where people are kind of going, "Yes, I've heard about this, I'm aware of it." And that's where it tells you that your profile and your brand has been out there and is performing quite well. So, guys, I'm going to stop soon for questions. I'll just go a couple of more minutes, and and then I'll stop and answer all of your questions that you have. But I've only been able to fit only so little in this amount of time because there's so much to write. And guess what? My next book is going to be about. Of course, I'm going to write about this topic um, and um, and share stuff about this, because there's just so much that I've been through over the last 5 years in terms of event management. But why Robert and I want to now tell you why Robert and I have been running these events for you, because we're excited. We want to share some of the knowledge online, but again, the most powerful way is to actually meet and get lots of value from us offline. So in order for us to go into a lot more detail, especially this blueprint and his Feed a Starving Crowd, menu course that he shared last month, we thought we'd come together in Melbourne and Sydney for a half-day event and actually meet some of you there. Now, last month we ran a webinar that he hosted and spoke and delivered amazing value. I learned a few things myself, and we actually filled our VIP tickets, which included lunch with us after the event. So we are normally running this event, and the cost is now $497 for the event, and we're giving away a copy of our books when people arrive there. So the VIPs have already gone, unless you really, really, really want a VIP. I spoke to Rob beforehand, and he said we could probably fit 1 to 2 people in Sydney and 1 to 2 people in Melbourne to go. But the VIP ticket, what used to be $97, is now $497, which is this price point now. If you want it, you got to email either myself or him in the next 48 hours, and we can get, and that includes lunch with us afterwards, where we sit down on a table with about 8 to 10 people and we have a more in-depth discussion. Otherwise, over the next 48 hours, we have a normal live workshop ticket, which is $97, and we'll go back up to $497. And this is the one that you can get as soon as, during this call. And we've got some of the dates that are coming up. So what's going to happen, let me just explain a little bit before I take questions, is that we're going to come together for a half-day event, and we're going to deliver more value over and above these webinars. Rob is going to talk and help people out on how to find that starving crowd, and then I'm going to go into more of the blueprint that I started talking about today. So further strategies and going deeper into running the online and offline events and getting those bums and seats. So our tickets are $97 per person. As I said, we're not selling the VIP any longer, which was last month because that was like an early bird. And we're coming in Melbourne on the 17th of August in Doncaster from 9 to 1. And then we're going to have the VIP lunch across the road. And then in Sydney, we're going to be doing it on the 19th of August in Redfern, again followed at the same venue for that VIP lunch. So there's those two links that you need to go to, feedastarvingcrowd.com/Melbourne and then /Sydney to get your tickets. Now what I'm going to do is get through some questions. Now, I know a lot of sound stuff, what's coming up earlier. So I'm hoping that I can filter through some of these. Or Rob, if you have looked at comments at your end, that you can sort of tell me which ones I should answer first and second, because it's over hundreds, thousands of comments here.
Yeah, no, and firstly, before I get to that, just wanted to thank you for a wonderful presentation tonight, Natasha. You did a great job and it was very informative, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so guys, and just for clarification, so this offer that you can see up here, the Feeder Starving crowd.com/Melbourne or /Sydney. This is for the regular fast mover ticket, so that doesn't include lunch. The lunch offer is the $4.97 offer, and we only have 2 of those in each city that are remaining, and they need to be emailed to us if you want to look at that offer. So in saying that, we do have some questions, and the first one is, okay, Natasha, someone has a fear, I won't say the name, but someone has a fear that no one will turn up to their events, so they keep putting them off. What's your solution for that?
You need to just jump into it. That's setting that date. I think really changes the mindset around the whole thing of running an event. But also, I guess the fear could come from, I don't know what to do next, and how will I get those people there, or what am I going to say and what I'm going to write, which is all of the things that I've been talking about, knowing and that we will be sharing at our event. Is some of the stuff. And I've pulled together a couple of little templates that I want to give people at that event as well, because I think it's good to have some checklists along the way, because event management is a whole degree itself, I believe, Rob. And you know what I'm going to say is the feeling that you get, no matter how many people are there at your first event, the feeling that you get once you've finished it and you walk home, you feel so light, so happy, so proud of yourself, no matter what. I mean, Rob, I didn't even used to be very good at selling anything from my events in the first 6 to 12 months. I'd go and do all this hard work and preparation and all that, but everything was leading up. If I hadn't started doing those, I would have never been able to get to the point where I'm converting 6 figures out of an event.
Yeah, great advice. Now, let's talk about retreats. How do you fill up your retreats?
Yeah. So with retreats, as we said before earlier, retreat is really the climax of it all. People see it and often think, yeah, I'd love to run retreats. Great. How do I do that? And I say, look, there is a lot of pre-work. As we've said, there's the webinars that we run for our authoring stuff, and then I've got my interstate half-day introductory events where people get to see me, meet me, and trust me and like me before they're able to make that leap of faith and back themselves into becoming an author for the first time. And then, so it's a funnel where perhaps sometimes they've come into my database, then they come to a webinar, then they perhaps come and meet me live, or they stay in my community on Facebook. And one day we have a conversation and they end up doing a retreat. So it's the relationship building that I have been a big believer in, what's worked well with my personality over the years that has resulted in the success of us having completed 7 retreats now. And when I think about 7, that's a big number, because a lot of people trial doing them and they might do 1 and 2, then drop off. But to have now consistently run one every 3 months, you have to have a steady stream of clients flow and that funnel working really well, to get people there. And that's another thing that we'll talk about. That's why the whole mind map shares the webinar, seminars and retreats aspect of it all.
And what about if people haven't got a budget for paid advertising to fill up their events? What
Yep.
happens then?
Yeah, so start off small. There's so many little tricks and tips or ways to use social media to get people into your events and promoted. As long as you have got. See, when people don't have as much cash flow in their business, I always say early on in your business, you're cash poor but time rich. So when you're time rich, you can spend more of that time developing those relationships online and going out networking and having meetings with potential referral partners that will result in people coming to your events. So I would say some of those strategies, and there's ways of doing it again, that I'd love to share further with some of the people that will be joining us live at our half day events. And
Yeah.
someone said here that are we coming to Brisbane? Unfortunately, no, Kim. Rob and I didn't have Brisbane on the cards, but we had a couple of people book in to fly down to Sydney and spend a day with us in Sydney.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there was another question here about Perth as well. So we haven't got any plans for a Perth event right now. But look, let me say this. We've had people come from all around the country, and at my other events, I've had people even come from overseas
Yes.
to attend these. And the reason is because they're worth it, and you learn so much of them, and it's a transformative experience. It's not just what you learn from Natasha and myself, it's
Yes.
actually the other people that you meet in the room who are
Yes.
just as valuable as the learning that you get from us. So no
Mm.
matter where you are in the country, we've given you plenty of notice. It's in August, so you've got plenty of time to make arrangements. And it's so cheap to get a flight from anywhere in Australia
Yeah.
to Sydney or Melbourne. They're on all the time. And even if you're international, like,
Mm.
if you can set a bit of budget aside, there's always a way to make it happen if you're keen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's my recommendation.
Yeah, love it. I'll just say there's been a lot of wonderful feedback. I'm so sorry, guys. I always have an intention to read through all the comments, but today, because of so many people online, it's just gone beyond me because of some of the sound issues that we had. Um, okay, let me just see. I'm just gonna flick
Yeah,
through.
I can fire some questions off for you, Natasha. I'll fire them off.
Yeah, tell me.
So we've got
Yeah.
a question here from RJ who's asking, what do you teach at the half day event?
Okay, well, you can tell them what you'll teach, and I can tell them what I'll teach.
Okay, you go first.
Okay, so it'll, RJ, it will be a further in-depth look with some more hands-on templates and checklists that you will be able to get at this event, and further look into, your specific messaging, as well as what potentially might be your sweet spot in terms of creating a lead magnet, whether it'll be an ebook or whatever it is. And Rob, as we've said, you will help them figure out their starving crowd, and go into more of this. Guys, I could talk about this stuff probably for a week. However, I'm going to keep it simple. So whatever I give you, I would love to see you implement, because nothing happens for me if I sat there and spoke for a week and then you went off and said, oh, well, this is too hard, in the too hard basket, and I'll go and do something else. It's best to just start out with 2 or 3 little actions,
Yeah,
maybe from this call, and then another few from the half day event, and
you're
keep
cutting
going.
out a bit, Natasha.
Yep, cool. You go.
Yeah, so we might go to the next question. So um, we've got another question here saying, do we provide the lead magnet at the same time that we're advertising the event? That's from Arpan.
Yes, so the lead magnet is step one. Is my sound good now?
No, your sound isn't good, but I can answer this question while we give your sound a bit of time to kick in.
Hmm.
So, Arpan, essentially what's happening is that the lead magnet is the very first page that people see after they click the ad. So that could be, like we said, the book in this instance. And then once they opt in to get the book, then on the following page, you have the thank you page is then the offer to come to one of the events. So that's how it works. And we've got a question here from John. Natasha, what do you charge for your half-day events normally when you're doing these?
As I said, about $47 or $57 with a bonus actual copy of my book. So they can even choose what book. They have a choice of obviously five that they'd like to have on the day to take home.
Yeah, so for John, that's $47 to $57 for that half-day event when she runs these for authors, and that includes a physical copy of the book as well.
Yep.
Okay, Thomas has asked, do we outsource the setting up of the marketing funnels?
No, I outsource the Facebook ads. So yes, the step one and step two, where it goes from the lead magnet to the invitation to the seminar, that is definitely outsourced and created because I wouldn't know how to do that myself. But in terms of how my funnel happens from one thing to the other, it's it just it just happens. I mean, I have a whole calendar of events. My whole year is planned in advance. So that pretty much shows me where a lot of my clients and people will come in from and lead into.
Yeah, so it was a little bit scattered there, but guys, for those of you who have missed out on hearing it, the recording should be a lot better quality, so we'll be able to send that to you as soon as this finishes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's have a look here. I've got a question from Jonathan. Is using a room at a pub a turn off or a turn on?
It depends on your personality. I think it's worked really well for me. The people who've come have had a whole lot of fun, and then we've stuck around and had drinks afterwards, and we just carry on. And I'm a very casual person. I don't want uh, I guess I also run my half day Melbourne one at my publisher studio, which is not a flashy venue, but it's got soul, as they like to say. So I like to go sometimes to places that are a little bit different than your stock standard, ballroom and a really typical corporate kind of look venue.
Yeah, and look, I've done both. So I've had them in, really five-star venues, and I've had them in, small, like little office workshop kind of things. So it just depends on what your budget is and what your preference is, like Natasha said. And I think that the more extravagant and the more expensive that it is, the more pressure that is on you to fill it up,
Correct.
and to make it monetize. So yeah, I think if you're starting, you really want to keep those costs as low as you can.
Mm.
Because when I had my big event at a five-star venue, it was in the tens of thousands of dollars to get that over the line. So I had to get sponsors and really work hard to drive the sales at the back of the room. So that was it. Look, it's a pretty stressful experience when you've got a lot of overheads that you need to cover.
I agree.
Okay, let's have a look. Trish has said yes, she can second that. Pub is okay, and even though she's not a pub person, she still likes the pub. So that's great.
Yeah, Trish was there back in I don't know, March or April, and I always go. I've been there now
I
for
got
a
a
year.
message from Jenny.
Yes. Oh, I think I've dropped out.
Yeah, we've got a message from Jenny,
Yeah.
and she said, "Thank you. I loved your three Ps." She's now running an average of 3 events per week,
Wow.
and the first P is her next area to develop, and you've given her some great ideas. So she just wanted to thank you for that, Natasha.
Oh, you're welcome, Jenny. Welcome.
3
Awesome.
events a week is a solid effort. So
Oh,
well
no.
done, Jenny. That's a very solid effort.
Yes. Yeah. Congratulations.
Okay, message from Chris. When you're starting out, should you charge lower rates and then increase as demand increases?
It depends on the outcome again. I have increased the cost of my retreats 3 or 4 times, about to increase again on the 1st of July. That certainly with experience and further systemization and refinement and me becoming a lot more sophisticated at running them and what I provide in them. Yes, that's happened. I haven't really moved the prices of my half day events too much because they do well. They cover the costs. I know people are going to get amazing value, and if you find something that's working well, don't change it. And I think Rob agrees with that.
Totally, totally. Rule number one in marketing, don't change what's working. And
Yeah,
then rule number two, never ever forget rule number one.
yeah, love it, love it, awesome.
All right. Now, I've got a message from Maraiki here. And if you've got an event that you don't have a full room with, should you fill it up with friends and family to get atmosphere and momentum?
Oh, you can get a crew person to also to help out at the event. That's really nice to make you look more professional and that you've got support people there as well. Yeah, you can. I've heard of people doing that. It's nice to have more, as you said, bodies in the room for support. And you may need to do that just a little bit, at the beginning. I know my mum has been to a couple of events and my husband, but not so much to get more atmosphere in the room, more so for support. And if you have a crew person, that'd be like a spokesperson for what you do, and they'd be a raving fan. So that's a great little testimonial to have there in the room as well.
Yep. And look, the idea is that you come to this event that we're having in August in Sydney and Melbourne, and we can show you some ways that you can have enough real people in the room that you don't need to fill it up with your family and friends.
Yeah,
That's the preference.
yeah, absolutely.
All
Because at
right.
the end of the day, those people will not convert into sales because they're just there really supporting you.
That's right. That is very true. Now, Jonathan had a question about what email reminder system do you use, Natasha?
Okay, so I'll be moving across to Infusionsoft as soon as we come back from overseas. But I do have I use the smaller version of Office Autopilot, which is called Sandpepper. So I'm just guessing that that's what you were asking me, what customer CRM, what customer relationship management system I use. And sometimes I even send email reminders through my Outlook. Really, if it's for a certain group of people that I need to at a certain point of time. So, for example, the last couple of emails I sent out were even from my Yahoo account because from here I can't send emails through my Outlook because the outgoing server is Telstra. So I just use whatever I can as long as I get my message to the people.
Yeah, got a message from Catherine, and Catherine's question is it better to run fewer events and make them more exclusive, or to run more frequent events, even if that means you have less at each event?
It depends what they are and what industry it is, and you'd need to test it and measure it. But I have, and also work out what your conversion rate is at those events from of how many people. So you'd need to collect the data to work out. So, for example, I can only use myself as an example, really, for our author retreats. I figure out how many authors would I like to help each year, and this year was 60, and how many events do I need to run at what conversion rate to get to that number. And I work backwards from there. And also, how many people would I need to have into each event? So, if you know your conversion rates, then you'd be able to figure out easily whether you run a few and get more people into them or more frequent. I would say if you're doing the same type of event, no more than 1 in 3 months. But if someone misses out that one that's just gone by, it's not too late to come to the next one. And I've had that happen many, many times where people have missed out, and I straight away sell them a ticket into the next date, and that way they can hold the date.
Yeah, and based on my understanding of Catherine's business, she does some really good work around trademarks and IP.
Yes.
And from where the market sophistication is at, quite often people don't have the I really think that the market is somewhat unaware of that offering.
Mm.
I think everyone knows what a trademark is, so to speak, but they don't really know the process of how to get one started and what you need to do and things like that. So when you're at the stage of educating the market, which is where Catherine is at, I
Mm.
really think that's a great place to start where you need to do it as much as you can. Like as much
Yeah.
as your schedule permits,
Yeah.
you're running these as much as you can do that.
And also why people need trademarks and all that. So I think that's a big question to address for people, because they know it's they should have it, but really leverage the pain as to why they need to have it, and if they don't, what can happen.
Yeah, and I've seen some of Catherine's literature around that, and there is some pretty horror, some real
Yeah,
nightmare and horror stories when you don't
yeah,
do it. So
yeah, yeah,
could be a topic for another webinar.
yeah, exactly. Great. Thank you. Awesome. Fantastic.
All
Wow.
right. Well, let's have a look here if we've got any others. Look, guys, you've got your last couple of questions. Feel free to bring them in. And we've got one here from Thomas asking, is the whole marketing funnel inside of Facebook, or is Facebook just used to direct the ads and then all the funnel lives outside of Facebook?
Yes, the second one. All the funnel lives outside of Facebook, and Facebook ad just is a click through into the funnel. Yeah.
Okay. Well, one last question. What have we got here? Last question from Kim. Do you have any suggestions for partnering with access to other people's database when you don't have something to offer in return?
I've been reading a book on this, and the key thing they say, and because I always look for different ways on how do you get close to people that you would like to partner with, and it's about really getting to know them and them getting to know you, because I'm sure that there would be some kind of an win-win outcome for you with partners. There might be a monetary incentive to partner up with them. It may not be anything that you can give back to their audience. It might be that if you host something for their audience, that they will get compensated a certain percentage. You know a little bit about this as well, Rob, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but I just wanted to let you have the hard question to
Yeah,
start with.
yeah.
Look, all jokes aside, look, if you get my book in chapter 6, I've got a whole chapter about, working with partners and, attracting affiliates and things like that. And it is something that we will discuss at
I
this
do
event
it.
as well. So, yeah,
Mm,
it's a very important thing to master because if you can use other people's traffic, it saves you buying it from Facebook, and there's
totally.
less risk because you normally only have to pay a commission once the sale is made.
Yes,
So, in saying that, though, it's always good to have your own. You can't just rely on other people's traffic as well, because
exactly.
that means you're going to have a very lumpy business.
Yes, yeah. I think you need to get traffic from many different sources, and this is why all the actual blueprint that I showed is where all the different areas where I would promote and run my events and put them out there. And I might get a few people from my Facebook ads, a few people from my partnerships that I have set up, a few people from networking, and so at the end of the day, you end up having this amazing event with lots of people there, but they haven't all come from the one traffic source.
Yeah. And a question here from Shari. So, if you don't have an upcoming event after someone has opted in, is it okay to do like a value-added autoresponder sequence, like a mini e-course,
Oh,
instead of
yeah,
promoting an event?
totally. Totally. Anything that you can do to add more value and to keep top of mind with people, which is so, so important, is a good idea. because then once you do have your event, then they'll have built that relationship with you and be familiar with your work. So they'll be more likely to come along.
Great. Alrighty, and just so you know, Shari, this is something that we do cover as well, like say a whole funnel
Yeah.
at this event. We'll be showing you like what to say, what order to say it in, what to offer, and when to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that wraps it up, Natasha. So
Perfect.
guys, before we head off, we would love to see you at one of these two events. It's the half-day events. One's in Melbourne, one's in Sydney, 17th of August and the 19th of August. We'd be delighted to see you there and to help you with your business. So feel
Awesome.
free to go to those websites, feedastarvingcrowd.com/. Melbourne and feedastarvingcrowd.com/Sydney. We would love to see you there, and goodbye for now.
See you guys.